Welcome to the studio, guys. I am super honored for you guys to take your busy life right now on a different calendar, really make this happen, show up. And I didn't know that there are two handsome guys. That was a big surprise. Well, this is part two with my very good friend now, Rob Byrne. He was on part one with me, where we completely dived into everything about home inspections. Anyone that watched him clearly understand that he was not just an average guy. He runs a family home and operated business, and he is definitely very, very special at what he does. He loves what he does, and that really truly shines through the fact that Newsday even invited him to do another episode shortly that's coming out.
Yes, it came out after the earthquake on Saturday. They reached out to me and wanted to know if there would be any concerns with homeowners and houses and stuff. So it was a nice article in Sunday's paper, and we talked about the concerns after the earthquake, which really no major concerns.
This was a joke.
The earthquake
was
not
God's
a joke.
joke?
No, the earthquake was definitely not a joke. But people were concerned from a structural
Of
standpoint,
course.
and I just told them it's just visual. If you see something that's cracking or something that possibly shifted, one of the good points that when the editor was talking to me was if you have all of a sudden you have a concern with your windows now, your windows used to open and close easily. Now, if they get a little stiff to open after the earthquake, something
Gotta
might have
fix
happened.
them.
Yeah, something might have happened. So even when we do an inspection, opening and closing the windows, if they're kind of stiff, this may be a situation
Needs
where it could be
adjustments.
aligned or it could be a structural issue. But for the most part, after the earthquake, I don't think it was that big of a deal.
Well, it's a very special episode. Today we have two very, very interesting professionals that are must have in everyone's phone book. No if, no but. And I'm definitely honored that you guys are here today. We're going to share everything about mold inspections, asbestos inspections, termite inspections. I have very little knowledge. All I know is that home inspector tells the broker, oh, there is asbestos in the basement. And I'm like, oh, God. And so I have no idea how it just then translates into next professional to carry it the right way, to handle it the right way. That's why we brought you here into this room so we could share the knowledge and just have the public understand how it all works. So let's present Dave as the person that's you work with so many years.
Yes.
How do you guys know each other?
We met quite a few years ago at a meeting, and we were introduced actually through Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy,
So
that's right.
Jimmy, the gentleman that you know, that does my social media and marketing and stuff like that, he introduced me to Dave, knowing
Wow.
that there would be a good
Full circle.
symbiotic relationship here
Excellent.
because Jimmy knew Dave and spoke very highly of him. I met Dave in 5 minutes. I knew he was a professional, very responsive, and it was really, really simple. So
Pleasure to work with.
yeah. So I think at this point, Dave, why don't you tell the audience exactly who you are and your background?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm an environmental inspector. I've been in the industry for about 12 years or so. We're licensed to do mold assessments, asbestos inspections. We're EP registered, lead-based paint inspectors as well. We do radon tests. Not that that's too much of an issue on Long Island. You can find that kind of information on the EPA website. But yeah, we do full circle environmental for both residential and commercial properties. And
For allergies too?
yeah, allergens,
Yeah.
the common ones like pollen, dander, and fibers. Those are the more typical allergens. Mold is an allergen in itself, but labs can analyze separately for that. So that's usually, if people are complaining about something, a respiratory issue, it's typically related to mold. Not to say allergens are out of the question, but more often than not, could mean that there's a mold problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, we do the full circle inspections. It's an unbiased report. We don't do any remediation. That's what my friend John is here for. He does any cleanup or cleaning and removal of any sort of environmental contaminants. So he's the go-to guy. You want to
Yes.
introduce yourself, John?
Yes. So I'm John Tatinas. I own a restoration company called On Call Restoration. I've been in the business for about 15 years and opened up my own with a partner. We've been in for 4 years now. And my main job is for water damages, mold damage or mold remediation. We do fire damages and full restoration from a full fire to a rebuilt home. When it comes to mold from Dave, we're the ones who come in. We take Dave's mold protocol and we're able to remediate the job or the home, whether it's doing demolition, cleaning, sanding. Um, there's no waterproofing for us, but we're the guys that do all the complete cleaning, and then when we're done, we hand over back to Dave to do his testing to make sure that we have no mold left in the home. I'll say that not all jobs are the same. Sometimes Dave will have a protocol, and you can only see so much on the surface level. And once you open up a wall or a floor, you can find out there's a lot more. And that's why it's very important to have Dave come back a second time to make sure there is no more mold, because there may be unseen mold in certain buildings.
So, Dave, you get to double dip.
in a way, yes, but it's more for the homeowner's sake,
Understood. And I think a good point is that you don't have to reach out to Dave just because you're having a home inspection. If you're having a situation in your house where you're having situations that you're not feeling healthy, and am I correct in saying most doctors are not aware of that environmental issue in the house?
Right. No, and you're 100%.
So doctors never prescribe?
Never an inspection. No. But it is recommended once in a while. No, that you're right. Holistic doctors are more in tune with it than other types of doctors. But once in a while, I'll get a call, probably once a week actually. I'll get a call. My holistic doctor recommended that I get an inspection done at my home. These are the respiratory symptoms that we're experiencing. Would you mind if we just chat a little bit? And I'm on the phone with my clients for 20, 30 minutes at a time, and we'll chat about how an inspection's performed, what we're looking at, the extent of our inspections, any sort of limitations, areas that we can't get into, whether they're inaccessible or whatever it may be. But we go over and we're pretty in depth with the clients that we talk to, and then we dive in. We try to solve their problems. If there is an issue in their house, sometimes we do come across mold in it's helpful because at least they know, or if it isn't, if they don't have a mold problem, that's something they can cross off their list. It's something that they don't have to worry about. So
how do you guys step into really test it?
So first,
what exactly goes into effect when I would call you and say, you know what, X, Y, and Z person called, not feeling well, symptoms that are very weird, maybe just to eliminate it and check off the list that the environmental part inside their home is clean. What are the steps?
One thing I always like to ask is, if somebody had recently gone on vacation and they started feeling better, right? Being out of their house for a period of time. And when the answer is yes, or that's typically there's a sign something's going on in the house. So we start
when I go on vacations, I always feel better.
Right, I know, mentally and physically,
yes.
Right? And then you come back and whatever, maybe it's just the blues getting you. But we go into a house, we perform a full visual inspection, and there's different tools that we use when we do that. There's thermal infrared cameras, moisture meters, humidity and temperature readers, and we look around every corner and inch of the house, basement all the way up to their attic. We're looking at the outside of the building, just like you had mentioned actually in your last podcast with Olga here. We're looking to make sure that the soil around the foundations are graded properly, gutters and downspouts are draining far enough away from foundations. So a full visual inspection to start. And then after we do our inspection, we'll talk with the homeowner on things that maybe we've seen, and we'll discuss a sampling protocol. And, say we found something in a woman's master bedroom, right? And that's the source of the mold, or the hub. We'll talk about sampling in those areas, and maybe I always recommend collecting a sample in an unaffected area as well. So sure, maybe we see some visible mold in the master bedroom. We'll collect an air sample in there, see if it's even impacting the air quality. And then because she is feeling symptoms in another area or just in her house in general, we may recommend doing an air sample in, say, the living room or the den, another area where she spends most of her time.
Right.
Just to see if air quality has been impacted in, like I said, an unaffected area. So we try to do a full circle investigation, and based on our sample results, based on our visual inspection, we put together a protocol or what needs to be done as far as remediation and cleaning. We're also looking at if people have air handlers, forced hot air systems, central air conditioning units. We're looking at those units, split system units that are on the wall units,
Those are
everything.
huge.
So we go a little bit further than I'd say typical mold inspectors. I'm taking apart the housing of the air handler. I'm looking at the coils. I'm trying to see as far as I can down, supply plenums and whatnot. So when it comes to your health, it's very important.
Very important.
You want to make sure that you're crossing every T, you're dotting every I, and this is a full circle investigation. People are paying money for your services, so you want to be able to supply them with any information that they may need. So,
Do you
um,
provide full report?
Yep, full report. We send out our samples the same day that we collect them. Typically, it's the next day turnaround with the sample results, and then a day to follow with the full report. So 2 business days, you get your full report back.
So what is it going into the lab?
Yep. There's an independent lab that we send our samples to. The lab does their analysis, provides us with the results, and then based on those results, and then, like I was saying, based on our inspection, we'll put together a report and give that to the homeowner or the commercial property owner, whoever's our client.
What happens after?
So depending on what we find, if there is a mold issue, we'll recommend having a licensed mold remediation company come in to take care of it. And once they make that initial contact with a company like John's going to come in.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
probably. I've seen he comes in same day most of the time. He's crazy.
I've experienced it. I'll cover that right
Yes.
now.
Yeah, well, you and me both. We were doing an inspection a couple of weeks ago in Long Beach. I was in the crawl space, and it was bad. So it's like we're skipping right past Dave because we know we got mold here. This is a problem. There was standing water. The insulation was coming down. I saw mold. I smelled mold. It was 11 o'clock. I'm in the crawl space. I called John up. I said, "You're going to get a phone call from the realtor right now because we have a major situation here." So I said to the realtor, "Give John a call." Realtor gets off the phone. He goes, "John's going to be here at 2 o'clock." I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And then John
Mhm.
showed up. Am I right?
Yeah.
We didn't need to get Dave in there because it was a mess. It was a train
We
wreck.
knew it's solid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We didn't need lab for that.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no. So really what was needed was the scope of work. And then John
Yeah.
went and tell everybody what happened.
So that one in out in Long Beach, that they had a lot of water in their basement. It pretty obvious there was fungal growth everywhere. There was mushrooms on the ground. We got the call at 11. I was there too, the day before Easter.
Oh, that's right. Saturday, right.
And it's important to be there on time, right? Yeah, to the customer, they having an emergency most of the time. This situation was a little different as it's a buyer, but again, everyone wants things done fast, right? No one wants to wait, especially in
Right.
New York. No one's waiting.
Right.
So you got to be there on time. But no, usually most of the time the customers they have a damage or they have something that's an emergency. If somebody hears they have mold in their house, they want it out as soon as possible.
Right.
It's also your home. You can't escape it. You have to live there. So as fast as we can get there, the better.
What creates mold?
The ingredients for mold, the most important one is water. The key to controlling mold in your home is controlling the moisture. So if you have active roof leaks, if there's plumbing issues, if you have water coming into your basement, any sort of water in your home is no good. So controlling the moisture controls the mold. The other thing that stems mold growth is lack of ventilation or air circulation. That's a big
So
thing.
wait a second. So new constructions where they put all this foam around the
Yeah.
house, that's not a good idea?
No, you are choking your attic, right? So that's where you see it a lot is people will spray foam their attic.
So
and you're
people
not gonna
that
see
do it, do
anything.
they know about it?
Usually not.
Mhm.
But they're looking for efficiency. And when you are over
Insulated.
insulating your house,
Right.
you're not allowing your house to breathe. And your house needs to breathe. It needs to expand. It needs to
So some
contract.
air should come in.
Some air should be coming in. There should be airflow in every inch of the house.
Wow.
Yes. So, ventilation is a big thing. The other thing too, and I call it the silent killer when it comes to mold in your home, is humidity.
Mm.
Basements where you get that nasty odor, right? That musty, that earthy dampness. You're not running a dehumidifier. You're going to get mold, and it only takes a summer, to really start stemming mold growth. It's incredible. Even houses where people, are leaving their summer house, right? And maybe it goes unoccupied for a summer. They come back the following year. They have their caretaker come in over the wintertime. Mold everywhere on all surfaces. The whole house has mold because there's no leaks, nothing. There's no airflow though. There's no airflow, and that humidity during the summer is creating a petri dish. Essentially, it's pretty wild.
Wow.
So what Dave's talking about is on the new construction, they're really, really making it a tight house.
Mm.
So if you remember older houses back in the day, they were drafty, single pane windows
Yeah.
because fuel was cheap. So they didn't
Care.
care. But now when you start sealing everything up, I did a house, just the house was literally 2 years old. They did all of this stuff. They did the right protocol from the mechanical end of it because I have a mechanical engineering degree, so sometimes people call me in. They had an ERV, but they never hooked it up. So I'm talking to the client. He goes, no. He goes, I'm looking at the drawings. We talked about the ventilation. Insulate and ventilate. They go hand in hand. So I go there. They never turned it on, and he had no idea. So we turn it on, and now with the ERVs, you have a constant, steady flow of air coming through the house. So it's like Dave says, humidity. You have humidity from the bathrooms. You have humidity from the stove. You're boiling water.
Right.
What it does is it goes through this mechanical device, usually in the attic, and it's an air exchanger. So as the warm, moist air is going out, it's bringing fresh air in from outside. It's conditioning it and then allowing it to circulate through the house. Clean, filtered air. We're getting that humidity out. So it's important now with the new construction that it's so tight that it gets ventilated
Properly.
and it's insulated right now. You have to ventilate, and you know that because you're doing the remediation on that.
I can give a good example
There you
about
go.
new construction and the spray foam insulation on closed cell. My aunt, they built their home, all brand new construction, ground up, and they opted to go with closed cell insulation in their crawl space. So instead of like R30 bad or R35, they had closed cell, and she had two problems. One of them, about 5 years down the road, beautiful home, their bathroom steamer for the shower had a slight leak, and you wouldn't know it was going behind the tile, behind the wall, but on a normal home, it would just leak out the crawl space. Her crawl space is open, so, again, if it had a leak, you would never know. But because of the closed cell foam, that water was sitting in the wall and underneath the shower. We came in there, and we opened up the wall, and all the studs, the plates, the joists were all rotted. And this is a 5-year-old home. That's not a lot of time in the life of a home. You took a 30-year mortgage, you're supposed to be there for a while. Same house. They also had radiant heat throughout the entire house, and it's all hardwood flooring. She has a large kitchen island that had a slight leak. Never knew it's under the kitchen. It's under the island. You would never see the floorboards popping up. It never reared its head. Instead, it was leaking down onto the closed cell foam, and water is going to find its lowest point in the path of least resistance, and that path was to one of the micro lamps. Over time, that micro lamp absorbed all the water. It started to rot, and as it rotted, it collapsed, and the house itself shrunk down about 2 inches in the entire center of the home. So all the baseboards were higher than the floor sunk down, all because of closed cell foam and a small amount of water.
You mentioned the word microlamps. Explain to everybody the purpose. No, well, the microlamp is a structural component of a house. So what John is talking about is it's a function of the house where it's the center beam of the house, or it's being used to overspan where you don't want a column or a post. It's a structural member. So when John's referencing microlam, the water damage to the microlam it's not like it's a 2x4 stud in the wall that's holding up a partition wall. This is a structural concern. And he said the house sunk how much?
About 2 inches, which is a large amount.
Yeah, it's big.
I mean, you just might see some homes over time settling a quarter of an inch here, and that's normal. But 2 inches is a lot. And microlams are meant to take moisture, but over time, sitting there from the closed cell, it didn't allow it.
Right.
And I'm sure there was plenty of microbial growth if there's water sitting there. And I know we were talking about the ingredients for mold is sugar as well, which is wood, cellulose behind drywall paper. I mean, a home has everything mold wants to grow.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other point that he's talking about is a lot of times with this closed cell where it's getting moisture, a lot of times we'll see termites in there.
I was going to
Because-
just ask that question.
Because it's all, water. Remember the saying I said on the first podcast?
Mhm.
Water is the enemy to a house.
Right.
Period. End of story. You want it away. We do houses that are 150, 160 years old. The water's been managed fantastic. But no-
Solid house.
Solid house.
Like that mansion we were today.
Right, exactly.
It's probably 200 years old,
Yep.
if not more.
Water management. It's just like the guys are saying.
Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
all about the water.
Why do you guys recommend when somebody is buying a house, besides home inspection and besides to what Rob as professional writes on the report, why do you guys think that it's important to do the air quality testing?
The air quality testing is it depends. If you're looking, there's different types of air quality testing. We talked about mold. There's the allergens that you can also have analyzed for. The other thing too, to bring it back to the closed cell for a second, there's VOCs and
Mhm.
formaldehyde. Those are the other two big air carcinogens, we'll call them. So VOCs, if you have a contractor who's installing closed or even open cell spray foam
Yeah.
in your house, if they're not mixing it properly,
Hmm.
they are creating a chemical hazard in your home. The VOCs, volatile
Wow.
organic compounds, and these
Wow.
VOCs can be a carcinogen for you, cancer causing.
Wow.
And if you're exposed to this, it could be a new build. You walk in your house, keep exposing you and your kids to that immediate install of the spray foam insulation. You're just making yourself and your family more susceptible to that cancer. So
It continually off gases, right? If it's not
yeah.
mixed right.
Yep, exactly. And because it's behind walls and
Mm.
it's trapped in your house, if and say you don't have an ERV or some sort of ventilation system in your home, that air, wintertime even, you're not opening up your windows.
Mhm.
Everything
Right.
is getting stuck in that house.
Right. And you're breathing it.
And you're
Mhm.
breathing it in. Yeah.
What were one of the examples, if you could share, with babies or pregnant women or anything that caused any kind of medical hazard?
Oof, there's a couple, and some scary ones are when we go out and do lead-based paint inspections.
Mhm.
The big ones are, and I hate seeing it, but the big things is if you see teeth marks on like a windowsill, the teeth marks, a child has
Mhm.
bitten the windowsill, and they say that lead-based paint is sweet. Never tried it myself. I can't speculate, but they say it's sweet, and that's why children, will take bites out of the windowsill or whatever surface it might be on. So that's scary. One other one that I saw, and I think I was telling you the story before. There was this building complex in one of the boroughs, and what had happened was a contractor had a contract to redo all the paint on the fire escape, so the stairs and the railings and all that. Multifamily complex, people in units. This worker decided to, or the contractor decided to use these instant reading strips to tell you
Mhm.
whether or not it's lead-based paint. It's not an effective, or it's not correct. I'm not saying it doesn't work all the time, but this case it didn't work. He got a negative reading on the strip that he used. We were called in to do a lead-based paint inspection because a kid got diagnosed with lead poisoning, elevated
Mm.
levels in his blood. And we were called in to do a lead-based paint inspection. We did readings on all the fire escapes, the railings, the spindles, everything, and everything came back positive. And that contractor had already started grinding everything. He
Mm.
was creating lead dust. The dust was getting into the windows of the apartment complexes, and that's how this child got blood in their system. So that's always horrible to watch and see and hear about, because they, especially children, they can have developmental issues. There's a slew of bad health problems when it comes to lead-based paint. So lead-based paint is very important. Asbestos is important. Mold is important. But asbestos and lead, those are the two top ones. You can take care of mold, and quickly you're going to start
Mhm.
feeling better. But asbestos is a long-term issue. Lead-based paint is a
Yep.
long-term issue. Mold can be a long-term issue, but typically it's not. Once you remove the mold, you're
Yep.
doing okay.
You're good to go.
Yeah. But lead-based paint and asbestos, those are the hazards that can cause
Cause
long-term
health issues.
Yeah,
Wow.
gets scary.
Very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your body can process the mold. It will, be fine after. once you get fresh air. But lead is a heavy metal. It's
Stays in your blood.
stays with you.
Mhm.
Same thing with asbestos. It stays in your lungs, and then you get all the cases.
How do you guys remove lead from the windows?
Why don't you take that one?
So for lead or lead around the window, how we'll take care of it is the same, almost the same way we would do mold. We would contain off the area so that there's no other air exchange if there was happen to be any lead in the air while we remove it. Either we contain, if it's a small area, we can contain locally, or we can contain just the whole room. We treat it the same way as we do a HEPA cleaning, so full detail every square inch of the area. As it comes down to let's say it's a casing around the window, we get pulled off like normal casing under also negative air, so any air that does escape goes through a big HEPA filter. I believe it's 0.3 microns that it stops.
Yeah, they just changed.
Or is
they just changed everything, and it's different. Per like
Or
the city
99.97 or
regulations.
99.98.
Oh, you're talking about HEPA? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
HEPA.
99.7. Yeah.
99.7 of all particulates that it traps.
Yep.
So anyway, as we take the casing down, it goes straight into a waste bag, goosenecked, and then double bagged into another, and then it's sent to be hauled off, or even with lead, it's double bagged and left on a dumpster will have hazardous material notices on it. And then once we're done, we will re-clean again, wipe everything down, and then we'll have Dave or someone come back to test to see if there is still any lead in that area.
And it's a dust wipe test. So
Yeah.
there's.
So do you always have to come back and re-inspect that it's all good?
Or so yes, for any type of environmental hazard, you want to make sure that whatever it was that you were cleaning or removing, that it was done properly, and
Mhm.
that this area is safe before you start rebuilding. So with mold, after the remediation's completed,
Yeah.
after the cleaning's done, we're going to come back and retest the air in the areas that remediation was performed. Once we get the all clear, all the mold is taken care of, plastic comes down. Well, could stay up, I guess. But
Yeah.
plastic comes down, and then you start the rebuild process. And then lead-based paint and asbestos, actually.
Mhm.
The plastic is going to stay up, does the removal,
Yes, it's-
cleaning, all that. After the cleaning's performed for lead, we come in, there's regulations both for New York City, and then there's different set of regulations for the state, both put in by the EPA, but there's dust wipe regulations for window wells, window sills, and floors. So in the
Mhm.
scenario that you were talking about where somebody is replacing a window that has
Yeah.
lead-based paint, the inspector is going to have to come in, take a surface sample or a wipe
Rob?
sample. No, me.
No, this is after the fact. When we do the inspection,
Mhm.
we have first of all, we know the age of the house, and I could look at it and see that there's half an inch of paint on
Right,
it.
suspect
We
that
know
there's
that there's lead underneath it. So
So
we
he's
call-
preliminary.
correct,
Rob is preliminary.
correct, and then
And then you're sealing the deal.
Right.
testing
So we're
it.
testing to
Mhm.
see if
Right.
it's there. And, with the initial test, it could be half an inch thick of paint, but that doesn't mean there's lead-based paint there, The inspections that we perform for lead-based paint, we use an XRF analyzer, an X-ray fluorescent analyzer. It looks like a gun. It's got a computer monitor attached to the top of it. And when we're doing lead-based paint surveys, we're going around and checking every square inch of the house. We're testing every surface, walls, ceilings, floors, baseboard trim, doors, windows, siding, everything.
Wow.
And it's a very long
In-depth.
process. It's a very in-depth process. It takes a while, but the XRF analyzers, they give you an instant read. And by the time we
You're
leave the
done.
property,
You know the answer.
we know what has lead-based paint and what doesn't. So
Wow.
it's a very efficient way of getting it done.
Here's a question for you.
Mm.
Whenever I do an inspection, I always hear the realtors talking to the buyers about this lead paint disclosure.
Right.
I don't understand what that is.
Well, every single property that was built prior to 1978 has to have that form completed. And majority of the times, people have no knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and people have no reports. Why? Because majority of people don't do these testings.
Mhm.
And so when the form is given to them, you're telling them to sign this form. So everyone signs off no knowledge, no report, right? But in the end of the day, if you look at the big picture, maybe people just don't know.
Mhm.
And many people, as we all know, suffering from some kind of condition. And I personally believe that every home, just like home inspectors, should be tested just to make sure, right? Because majority of homes that we sell, they're older homes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's very rare that the person would call me and say, I want to buy this house, but I'm going to completely knock it down. So
Right.
even in that case, what does one do if they decided to knock down the house?
And it becomes an age issue too. How old is the house? We were talking
Most
before.
homes in New York are over
Yeah,
100 years old.
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the 80s, right? So, lead-based paint and asbestos were both banned for residential use about the same time, early 80s, at the end of the 70s. So, when you're talking to a client who has plans to demo a property after purchasing it, a lot of towns on Long Island are going to want an asbestos survey done, and some may even require lead-based paint inspections. And the survey, again, we're going to come in, we're going to test everything that could be asbestos containing material, wall material, drywall, joint compound, plaster, roofing material, pipe insulation, flooring material, anything. We're going to test it all. The town wants to know what they're dealing with as part of the demolition. And then you as the owner of the property have to take care of it. If there is any asbestos or lead-based paint, it's your responsibility to remove it properly before you continue with the demolition. You have to
Remove it properly,
right,
Mhm.
buy a licensed
Mhm.
asbestos or lead-based paint
professional.
And that was interesting what you said, John. I picked up on when you were talking about when you're doing this work,
Mhm.
you're actually containing all of the product,
Yes.
and then it gets handled after you. It gets handled in a special way in itself because
Yes.
it is a hazardous material. So that's interesting. I picked up when you were talking
Yeah.
about it, how everything double bagged, gooseneck tied, the
Mhm.
whole bit. So
Right.
that's pretty interesting. I think most people don't know that.
For like especially again with the survey, I mean, if someone's demoing a home, all that whole home is going to go in a dumpster. It's going to end up at a town dump. Employees are in there. That's going to go in landfill, and they get crushed. Everything gets moved around, and you're just putting asbestos in the air.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the survey and you find out there's asbestos, then it must be abated the proper way, and then it's taken to the proper person or company to actual handle that asbestos
Mhm.
as waste. I want to go back a little bit. A question for Dave. I had a job a long time ago that they bought a old dentist's office,
Mm.
and
It's like your new thing.
It's
They-
funny because we've been doing a lot of commercial inspections,
Mhm.
a lot of dental offices.
You mentioned it last
Yes.
time.
And there is a whole environmental study. Obviously, phase one, as you
Yeah.
guys are well aware of, because all the old mercury from the teeth, when the old fillings, they were going in.
that's
I mean, that's
wild.
old. That's yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they're drilling it, and it's going into the water treatment, into the water.
Yeah.
But now they have these sophisticated pieces of equipment in the basement that the water has to get filtered before it goes into the regular sewer line.
Yeah, this job it was a home. They bought a house. So they didn't know it was an office. They assumed it was just a house, and they had a water damage. And when we did the demo, the walls were lined with lead. Is there any way that if you test that, would there be a way to know if there's lead in your walls? I mean, so they had drywall, then lead. It's a lead drywall, right? I guess it would.
It was probably for the X-ray
So
room.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
So they
XRFs
had
are
rooms
meant
of
to
lead.
they're meant to go through surfaces. I don't know. I've never been in that scenario before. That's,
Yeah, it was the
that's
first for me.
unique, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be interested to try that XRF. The XRF reads through all layers of paint. You could have 40 layers of paint on a surface, and
Yeah.
this thing's going to read through it. So, I don't know if it'll read through drywall to
Right.
another substrate behind it. That would be.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Were you in that job?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So how'd you guys remove the lead? from the
We
walls?
we ended up going through an insurance carrier, and they had to pay to have it abated.
Mm.
But as we took off the layer of drywall, it was 2 layers. I guess we're just covering it up. But I'm sure that in the dental world that those walls are safe.
Mhm.
So it may not even cause a health hazard to you, but you also have thousands of pounds of lead
That's
sitting in in a
right.
wall.
Kind of
But-
structural.
What are some of
Yeah,
the
what's under
symptoms?
that?
Yeah, well, hopefully a good micro lamp.
Yeah.
What are some of the symptoms that you guys witnessed that people have?
For what type of hazard? Lead or mold?
All
asbestos?
three.
Okay, so for mold, the typical symptoms have to do with respiratory issues. So
Mm.
coughing, sneezing, headaches, congestion, those are the big ones. But people who are immunocompromised or just are allergic to mold have sensitivities to it. They can have some more severe reactions, skin irritation, nail infections, hair loss,
Mhm.
even. There's a whole slew of symptoms that they can experience. Asbestos is a little different. When you're exposed to asbestos, it's like if you're actually exposed to like bad asbestos, right? So there's no good asbestos, but when you're exposed to asbestos, it usually means that you were around some sort of construction site that was disturbing material that had asbestos in it, generated a lot of dust. You inhaled that dust, and then the initial symptoms you might have are again respiratory, dry throat, coughing a little bit, but the big the big takeaways with asbestos is there's a latency period, and that's 20, 30 years down the line. That's when you're going to figure out if you have lung cancer, if you have mesothelioma, asbestosis, pleural plaques. Those are the ultimate ending. If you were
Yeah.
exposed to any asbestos, it's cancer, lung cancer. Um,
So one can't remove asbestos on its own.
mm-mm.
No.
No, we wouldn't recommend it.
So if the homeowner says, "Don't worry about it, I got a contractor. He
No.
will take care of it for
Eh,
me."
yeah, so
So that's a no-no.
Nope.
I
No
would
good.
suggest not, because not only that, I mean, as a homeowner, you're risking the worker's health, right?
Right.
And then if that worker's not doing it properly, doesn't have the right equipment, not disposing of it properly, that worker is then re-exposing you and your family. You're not cleaning the asbestos fibers off the floor. You walk
Mhm.
into a house after it's been renovated, well, abated, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Um, you're exposing yourself,
Right.
and it's not the smart thing to do. And again, like John was saying, if he's not disposing of it properly, that worker is exposing the landfill employees, and
Wow.
Yeah.
it becomes full circle. And that small issue can affect multiple people.
Yep. Let me give you my take on that. When we go in and we do a home inspection, the majority of the asbestos is on the heating pipes.
Yes.
That's your biggest amount. So now here's my conversation. Buying a house. I'm doing an inspection for you. Looking at this 100-year-old house. Has asbestos on the heating pipes.
Mm.
How old are the heating pipes?
100 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they're like that, it's a steam system.
Okay.
One zone. Usually big, multi-floor houses, steam, it's all on or all off. This is my conversation with the client. We're dealing with an old system. We're dealing with old pipes. Why are you going to remediate this to clean off the asbestos to expose old heating pipes?
Right.
So,
Replace the whole thing.
correct. So, deal with encapsulating it,
Mm-hmm.
cutting it out, getting rid of it, changing the system. If it's a steam system, it's old. Get a nice hydronic system, do a high efficiency, run some baseboards with PEX, have 3 zones in the house, and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's when the people go in and they're like, oh, we got to remediate. So you're going to remediate, you can take off. I told you the house I did in Queens last week.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, there was easy, well over 100 linear feet of
Oh, yeah.
asbestos. It was a big house. It was all over. I'm like, this is crazy. Just talk to a good plumbing contractor. Let him give you a game plan, because all you're doing is like having a new car with old tires. Why?
Right.
So that's my take on that. And you guys agree the
Mhm.
biggest amount of asbestos is on the heating pipes, right? For the most part.
Well, it's not the amount; it's the
I've
type.
seen it on the floor tiles.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of floor tiles.
Yeah.
The floor tiles, and there's not a lot in the floor tiles, right?
There's
Correct.
So
not
there's
so
a
much.
difference.
There's
There's
some-
2 categories of asbestos: non-friable material, like floor tiles, and then
Mhm.
there's friable material, pipe insulation.
Exactly.
Friable, the definition is crumbled by hand. If you can crumble the material, like pipe insulation, by hand, it's considered friable. Friable turns to dust easily. That dust, like pipe insulation, some of that dust has the fibers in it, the asbestos fibers. So if you disturb it in any way, you're exposing yourself, you're risking inhaling, and then again down the line could develop the lung cancer. Non-friable material, floor tiles, for instance, sure they have asbestos in it. It's usually in far less amounts The definition of asbestos-containing material is a material that has greater than 1% asbestos in it. So pipe insulation, when I'm getting my lab results back and I'm seeing numbers as high as 70 to 95%, that's high. That's really high amount for a material to have asbestos. Floor tiles, on the other hand, they're usually on the lower end. So again, that threshold is 1%. Floor tiles, you'll see, 3 to 15% of asbestos within that material. So again, it has asbestos in it. It's far less than what you're seeing in pipe insulation, still considered a hazard, but people, I feel like that is good information to share, non-friable versus friable material.
Good point.
Yeah, that's the big thing. So,
Why do you think in New York City they make you guys do two separate jobs? Why can one person do one job?
Great
Well,
question.
I'll take that
That's
one.
a great question.
So I mean, I'll do it as honest as possible. Is that if we didn't have to have a assessor do our mold assessments, I could come in and take air samples and tell you to demo the entire house.
Mm.
And then I'm going to say, not saying I do this, but this is what somebody could say. And then if they say do their cleaning and they do a poor job out of it, I'll just come say, hey, it's clean. Goodbye, right? Because I'm watching myself.
So it's
while
a
making-
conflict of interest.
conflict of interest, there's a
Check and balance.
bias, yeah. So exactly, checks
Right.
and
Check and
balances.
balance.
So yeah, you need the third party inspector, assessor to come in and
So
do
they
that.
want people to stay on their lane.
Mhm.
Exactly. Do
And
what you're licensed to do
Mhm.
and make sure it was done properly.
How easy is it to become a professional in New York City?
New York City's different. So with molds, when you become licensed through the state, there's a state class that you have to take, and then you have to be certified after taking
How many
the test.
hours?
For the mold, I think it's for the inspector, it's 40 hours. There's a refresher every 3 years that you have to take, and then you also have to pass the tests. Like I was saying, you have to meet certain
The requirements.
requirements too with insurance and I probably do probably 700 to 900 inspections a year.
Wow.
So there is that experience factor there as
Right.
well.
How long
but-
you been doing it there?
12 years. 12 years.
I think a good point is that we spoke when we were on the phone. Touch on your background, with your education, your schooling, and where you are
What
today.
made you join?
Because I think that's an important thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
As well as John, what John does. John's in the construction business, so he knows what to do
He
and
has
how
the
to
foundation.
take literally the foundation. But no, I think that's important because everybody should know. Anybody can become a home inspector. Anybody
Right.
could become a mold assessor, a mold remediator.
Yeah.
But when you have the background, like we all do, like a home inspector, you don't need an engineering background, but we have it. So we pull from that knowledge. And with you guys, that's what makes you stand out from everybody else because of your background. So it's okay with you? Let
Of
them.
course.
Yeah,
Yes,
because I
yeah.
think it's
It's very
it's
important.
impressive too.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So I'm from Rochester, New York originally. I did 2 years at a community college there, and I had this awesome professor who really got me into geology. Had me wanting to explore rocks, Yeah, really cool stuff for everyone. But I had the dream of going and becoming a geologist. I wanted to be part of the oil exploration, doing Gulf Coast, Midwest, Alaska Pipeline, whatever it was. So came to Stony Brook. Was recruited for hockey, played at Stony Brook, and pursued my geology degree, got my bachelor's in geology. And while I was there, I met my lovely wife, who is from Long Island, and now I'm on Long Island.
And he says
But-
it right. He doesn't say Long Island.
yeah,
Long
or in
Island.
Long Island, right? It's
right,
on
right,
Long
right.
Island, right? So, met my wife, and the dream of going and doing oil exploration, I don't want to say was abandoned, but it changed. So, I became a geologist on the island and didn't realize that I'd be looking at sand my entire life. So,
Wow.
quickly got out of that. It wasn't what I was looking at doing. So, got into the environmental health side of things, and that's why I started working for a company doing the mold and lead and asbestos inspections. Got fully certified. Back in 2020, decided to jump and start my own, and it's been great ever since. But that's sort of my background. We've been going full tilt since, and it's been amazing. I mean, you meet great people
Yeah.
like you guys, and
Yeah.
Well, I think your job is just like some of my attorneys that are in probate and estate business, right? Their business never gonna die
No.
because people constantly born and pass.
Mhm.
right.
So the same applies to you.
And that's what's good about our business, because AI can't take it over.
No.
Right.
The AI can't do
No.
our job.
No,
So
Yeah, no,
it's interesting. And it's funny you brought up earlier in the podcast why I recommend Dave. Well, you always have to start somewhere with recommending somebody. So many years ago, I did a house, had a mold situation. First time I recommended Dave, you know the house, the
Mm-hmm.
gentleman's name. So I made sure that when I did the recommendation, that I would swing by and just say
Check
hi,
up.
see him in action. So I walk in, and in 5 minutes, I'm like, this guy's the
This
real
is the
deal.
guy.
He has his thermal imaging
He is
camera.
real.
He's up in the attic. He's pulling the filter out for the air conditioning, which, like he said, is the big part of mold. He's got his moisture meter. I'm like, okay. And I'm just watching him and listening to talk to the clients. And you get a feeling, So, again, vetted,
amazing.
understood. Same thing with John. My son had an issue in his
Mhm.
basement. He got flooded, called up Dave, do the 2-foot flood cut right away. So it was like 8 hours old, flood cut. He
Mhm.
goes, I got to get John in there for you. He's got to do the fans and the spray and all this stuff. So that's how this came full circle. We've not only worked together for clients, we've worked together on a personal level.
Personal business
So
too.
people that, and John went to my house. There was times nobody was home.
Yeah.
It's like, just the back door's open. Don't worry about it. Go in. The dogs are fine. Just throw them a cookie. They'll be good. Because he had to go in and check and move things
Yeah.
around, sample, spray. So that's why we recommend. And like you said in the first podcast we did, building that team.
Absolutely.
And this is important to have this type of team.
People you trust.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
People you trust.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I'm doing this, right? I want my audience to hear that every single one that comes into our circle, it's not just random Joe Schmo from around the corner. That's without reviews. Let's talk
Right.
about reviews, right? I mean, if you didn't do a good job, who's gonna write you a good review?
Mm.
And you guys are building your reviews as well. I mean, I know this gentleman, he can beat everybody else. He's got 500 reviews.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
why he's busy 24/7. We talked about it last night. But this is the definition of building trust and building a good business. But let's go back to the original core. What made you guys go into this business?
Helping people is the big thing, and providing knowledge and awareness, because, like I was saying before, holistic doctors are the only ones that are pushing, if anything,
Right.
some of them are. That's something that people should be aware of, is checking on your house for mold or
Right.
environmental hazards. But exposure, a lot of the symptoms that people may be feeling, it's just something that's going on in their house. It's something
Right.
that can be fixed, but they just don't know where to start. So, I always appreciate a call. Even if somebody's interested in having their home assessed, there's no price for just a phone call. And I'm not. What
So
is
you're
it?
saying phone calls are free?
Yes, phone calls are free.
Good to know.
Over 3 minutes, we'll start charging. But
Right, but like we say all the time, we drive so much.
Yeah.
We're driving between inspections.
By the way, that's a joke.
yeah, I know.
And I know Dave is too, and John. We enjoy having a conversation
Right.
with the clients. You're sharing your knowledge,
Absolutely.
you're showcasing what you do, and
Right.
it helps.
So you love educating.
Yeah, and to be honest, that was the first thing I was going to go to college for. I wanted to be a math teacher.
Here you go.
And then I took
circle.
Calc 3 and I said, no more math for me. I'm done.
But you're still calculating the level of affection, right?
Yeah, I
That's
guess so.
coming back.
But wait a second, you got through Calc 3?
Yeah, and then I said no more. I couldn't believe there was more math after that.
Yeah,
but-
Calc 3, and then
yeah.
all right, so you do differential equations, you do that. But you were there. I mean,
yeah. But there was more. There was more. So
right, to be a math major.
yeah.
So go back to John.
Mhm.
What made you start?
So right out of high school, my aunt needed. My aunt and uncle owned a restoration company. They had still have a successful company, and they needed help in the summer. And I said,
So you grew up in this?
I grew up in it. I helped them out. I enjoyed it. It's one of those things. Every day is different. Every home is different.
Mhm.
Every problem is different. And to me, the best part about it, I think Dave will agree as well, is that the homeowners are happy you're
Mhm.
there. And from my side, most of the time I work with insurance carriers, I don't need to collect money from you. So you love me even more.
Mm.
So I get, I'm helping you out and I'm bringing your house back to normal or better than when we came in. And you're beyond happy because you also don't have to pay me. To me, that means a lot. The homeowners love it. Everybody's happy. I never have to have someone, it's the business. Some people pay, some people don't. Never have to have that conversation, and it's wonderful. So when I worked with my aunt and uncle for a bit, I was there for 10 years, started from the very bottom. The guy shoveling sewage, the guy doing, in the Tyvek suits,
So all
full
the dirty
hazmat,
work.
Mm.
everything, which
It's
is,
the
I
way to
think, to
learn.
me, is the best.
Way
This
to
is the
learn.
cleanest he's dressed since
Yeah,
he's
yeah. So, I've learned from the very bottom. And then, being, doing them for 10 years on a successful business, I can learn what is, the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts of certain, aspects of it. Again, from the bottom, then I worked my way up. I was a production manager, so getting the guys out, doing all the scheduling, what's needed. Thankfully to them, they paid for all of my certificates that we have in order to be water mitigation or mold remediation. I had my abatement worker, my mold license. Then, moved on to a mold contractor's license in New York.
But why that field?
What's that?
Why did you choose that field?
I don't know. It was easy. Not only was it easy, but every day is different. And to me, that was
It was
most.
familiar to you.
It was familiar.
Family business.
It was a family business. Every day being different to me is great. I don't want to be stuck doing the same thing over and over. Life gets boring. You see new
So
things.
you're never gonna get boring doing this.
No, you can't. Everything's different. And then it's great because you go from all over. You can go from, regular homes to, 15,000 square foot. We've done a few famous people's homes out in the Hamptons.
Wait, famous people have mold too?
They do. I think Dave Wright actually might have been on it.
I think I was. I know which one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're not allowed to say it.
Yeah.
We did have to sign an NDA.
Yeah, NBA, yeah.
Mm.
We've done that too with some big houses.
One's
in
a
the
singer,
Hamptons.
one's a rapper. They live in New York. You can guess.
Yep.
There's a few of those.
Oh, gave that away.
No, there's so many.
Right.
Well, I guess people have
but they have
assumption
mold.
that they don't have problems.
Yeah.
Right. They did. I think they just bought that house too, and it became.
Yeah.
They found out, and they wanted to take care of it. Back to the saying. So enjoy. Every day is different. To me, that's great.
So you're just having fun.
Just having fun.
And we spoke about it last night,
wonderful.
right?
yes.
It's a passion. It's great.
And it's funny you say that because when I got to school for engineering, I went, it was called at that time field service engineering.
Mhm.
I did not want to sit behind a desk all day
Right.
long, just like you said, and do drawings.
Mm-mm.
So when I got out, I worked for a company that was government certified. So we would go, and you talk about diversity, we
Yeah.
would literally go from back in the day when Grumman was heat treating airplane parts. We were the ones that were certifying those rooms, very small tolerance for deviation in temperature. From that to cargo ships that would bring perishables over from overseas, and we would have to get in those cargo holes, huge cargo holes, and everything had sensors. So when the ship was coming overseas, what they had to do is they had to monitor the product that was coming over, and it was recorded. Back in the day when I was doing that, they were called strip chart recorders, circular chart recorders. Now today everything's digital, but we had to go in there and certify that whole cargo hold, and we would be there for days with a bunch of workers and to verify all of this as quoted by the government, regulations.
Mm.
So like you said, it's different. And we are lucky because, and just like you, it's different, right? Every
Every day is
house,
different.
every
Mhm.
client, every person.
Every single
It's-
case is different.
It
Yep.
sure is.
So we
So-
solve a problem, which is always great. We're solving. There's no unfinished things. If we come in, we're solving it. And people like results, and you give them a result, and they're happy.
Mhm.
Very rarely do you have upset customers.
Well, I'm gonna put something on camera for the record. People know Olga. People just know that I'm very tough, especially when it comes to my business, right? And I had the privilege of having the recent experience where a client had a home inspection, and we discovered in that report that there was a mold,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so I was like losing my mind. What do I do? What do I do? So I called my friend. He referred me directly to Dave, and Dave to you, and It was all resolved within 24 hours.
Yeah, that was great.
So this is exactly what we are building. We are building that connection and referral pool of great professionals that people can call me 24/7.
Mhm.
I mean, don't call me for a nanny help. I'm not going to help you with that. Okay. But anything that comes to real estate and building your home or demolishing your home, or even the 3D, I told you that the owner of this company,
Yeah.
he has a new system where you could build a home without even having a contractor or appraiser in, or even architect.
I've seen videos of that.
3Ds,
Mm.
Mhm.
It's
right?
pretty wild.
And so I'm asking him to come on this because I want to share with my audience.
That's great.
I want to share with my clients that that's what we do,
Mm.
right? Not only we just build homes, but we also can help you with all kinds of different scenarios to resolve your problems.
Mhm.
And that's what I enjoy the most.
Put a good team together.
Yeah,
Put a good team
connecting-
together,
Connecting
right?
people with the right people. You know, that's-
Absolutely.
That's the big thing.
So, Rob, I know that you run a family business.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, what are you like as a dad? Like, do you let your kids do like the easiest job or the most complicated jobs that are dirty?
Well, I guess that would be a podcast you could have with Christopher or Joseph. But I always feel when you're in a family business, and you could probably attest to this, you never want to put your kids on that pedestal.
Challenging them?
Yes, I always tell my son, I never want someone to say, oh, this is the owner's son or the boss's son, and that's why he's flying under the radar or, getting away with doing the stuff. I told him, you have to outwork everybody
Mhm.
else. You have to lead by example. You have to
Love it.
make sure that you do your job. And if you see my son today on an inspection, people are absolutely blown away by his knowledge, the way he presents the information, and he's got this very calm demeanor. Like, this is what you got. Meanwhile, me, I go into a house and I can't deal with stupidity. It's like, and I'm shaking my head and I'm like, what did they do? I mean, this is dumb. Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, my son's like, just looking, and it's like, okay, I'll just let Christopher explain this situation.
He humbles you
You're
a little
missing,
bit.
Yeah.
you got the center beam, you're missing 3 columns, you walk in the
Right.
front door, the floor is sagging. I'm like, what are you thinking? So you kind of, you just do it that way. But no, absolutely. And we also touched on last night, you guys have young children. They're going to be at that age where they get older, and we've all been there. We've done stupid things in our lives.
Mhm.
One of the things that Olga and I were talking about last night was there's no get out of jail card free on certain things that your kids do, and we touched on DWI.
Mm.
If you're that stupid to get it, don't call me.
Stay there.
You're rotting
Mhm.
in jail, and we have family members that are in the law enforcement. They tell the kids right out, you'll rot in jail. We're not bailing you out, and you just ruined your life.
Yeah.
So things like that,
Be mindful, right?
yes, think what you're going through, and know that there's an ulterior motive here. You want to be that stupid, like I would tell my kids as they were growing up. I don't care where you are. If you're out, everybody's going to drink. You're going to get,
Mhm.
drunk. I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning. No questions asked. Call me. I'll
Mm.
pick you up. As long as it's just drinking.
Right.
If there's other things involved, where it's drugs, don't call me. Just call 911, because when I get done with you, you're going to need to call 911. So, and I think Olga is the same way. Again, you guys have younger children, but that's what Olga and I spoke about. And I know she wanted to bring that up today because we feel it's important, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you guys are on the same page. So
Right.
there's certain things you could do. We got your back, no problem. But stupid things that you do, just don't.
Right. No, that's on a different level. I mean, we do have young kids. I have a 3-year-old boy, and then my daughter turns 1 on Saturday. So
Happy
yeah,
birthday.
Happy
we're,
birthday.
we're thank you. Hopefully, I'm a long way from any DWI talks, but yeah, that my mom actually had the same philosophy. When I was growing up, if I were ever in trouble or was drinking and it got too much, then I'd call her and it was fine. I mean, we all do it. It happens, but you live and you learn. And
Right. Know
you
your
just-
responsibility. If you're drunk, don't even think about it. Just
yeah, for sure.
sleep on the side of the
Yeah.
road or whatever. You know, just
Don't come home.
Right, don't come
just
home.
Whatever you do, don't go home.
it's funny.
Yeah, it's not easy to raise children nowadays, right? But as professionals, how do we manage that personal and professional balance? That's what's important to me.
Mhm.
Where you get distracted by home challenges, I would say, and anything that could be thrown on personal level, could be your parents, could be your siblings, could be your children, and I could turn around 100 transactions, and I would not get that overwhelmed and tired mentally and emotionally as if when I'm dealing with personal challenges.
Mm.
So how do you guys manage it?
Personal challenges are a little different.
They don't let you sleep now.
No, well, that's the big thing. Thank God she started sleeping. My
Wait,
goodness. Yeah. That was a challenge, I'll tell you that. But yeah, you're not wrong. At the end of the night, it sort of comes full circle. You know, we put my daughter down first, my wife and I, and then we'll put down my son. We'll read him an extra book, and he loves that. But he's at the age, he's talking now, and you get to ask him about his day, and so he and I will lay in bed for a couple extra minutes, and he'll tell me what he's excited about for tomorrow, or what he's got, what he liked about today, and
Great.
that I love that time. It's only for like 2 or 3 minutes, but
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Sentimental.
Yeah, it's really nice. I love that. Could eat that up every day.
Yeah, we have a granddaughter that's going to be 3, and I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And she spent the weekend with us this weekend, and I was like so excited to go home. It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
get to be a 5-year-old again. And my wife
Yeah.
laughs at me. I'm rolling on the floor and jumping around, like having pillow fights, and
Yeah.
it's good. But those are great times. I mean, right? We miss them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Personal
Absolutely.
challenges too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just about mental; it's physical. When my little guy starts jumping on me, I'm sore in the morning when I wake up. Beats me up.
So true.
Bedtime routines. Maybe
Yeah.
Dave might be the same way, but dads, we have a little more fun before bed.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
tossing the kids
Yep,
around. You know,
yep.
I was tossing my kid up doing squats. I was doing. I couldn't walk.
I think that's one of my
God.
next things,
Yeah.
honestly.
So
How many children you have?
I have a almost 3-year-old boy and a almost 5-year-old girl. I'll say this: the girls are a lot easier.
For
Really?
For-
For now,
for now.
while
For
young,
now.
the girls are easier. Personal, I mean, I got a great wife, love her to death. She's the best. It really helps out. I mean, as a guy, it's
What we're
tough.
talking
It's
about.
tough dealing with kids. I mean, as a man, we have different. We do things a little differently.
I think it's something in this room.
Yeah,
We talked about on the last podcast how
You need a
behind
partner.
every good man is a great woman.
Yes.
And it's so true because
Yes.
they keep us in our lanes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I'll have a conversation on the phone and my wife will overhear it and she'll be like, "You might want to rethink that." Like, what do you mean rethink that? I'm not rethinking that. Like, well, just
Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
take a deep breath, go for a walk, come back and think about it. And
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, I guess,
My
definitely.
wife yells at me all the time. It's good. It's great though. It keeps you in line.
Keeps you in line, right? It's
What
like it's like the bench coach, right? Or
Yeah.
out there, like
Yeah.
when you're playing hockey. Christopher plays hockey too. You're getting yelled at all the time for for the good reasons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's how you take it though too.
Yeah,
That is true.
So
I'm very good at
if you're
taking
good with criticism, then that's great.
That's
always wanna be
awesome.
better.
Nice thick skin.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I guess as we grow, as we get wiser, we become more bulletproof. We don't react to things the same way. We are more mindful. We analyze things differently. And especially when you're in business where you work with people.
Mm.
When you work with people all day long, like you can't just become sensitive and cry.
Mm.
Like my kids could make me cry in 5 minutes. But out there in the business, it would take a lot for a client to make me cry.
Yeah.
They could make me cry if they did not disclose valuable information about their financials and failed to get the
Mm.
mortgage because they didn't do something right.
Mm.
That would make me maybe get upset. Okay? But what I'm saying is that when we are in the business, when we are dealing with clients, and when we have a different hat that we wear, it just becomes different, right?
Mm.
So that's when it goes back to like, how do you recuperate? How do you recharge? What do you do personally and emotionally for yourself to be able to sustain this constant
Mm.
heats,
Yeah.
right? So let's begin with you, Rob. What
By
do
the-
you do?
By
What
the
do you
way,
do?
I cry on a lot of inspections I go on. Trust me,
This
I'm
roof is
crying.
terrible.
It's like, oh my God, do we have to go through with this? But no, it's interesting, and that's a good point you bring up. It's like we're all running full tilt a lot.
Yeah.
Then we're going home. You guys have different challenges and responsibilities as us. You know,
Mhm.
me more than you. You still have your children home, right?
Yeah.
Well, kind of, right?
In and out.
But no, it's just my wife and I, which is great. So it's just our time. But basically, you're looking at like, what do you do to decompress, to, like
Yeah.
just kind of chill out? And we look forward because we go on 2 family vacations a year, and next week we're going to go on one with the whole crew, like all the kids, the grandkids, and we go away for a week, and you kind of recharge your batteries and
Just have fun.
Yeah, you need
and
that.
just even on a daily basis, like every night, my wife and I will sit down, and God bless her, it doesn't matter what time I get done. Sometimes we're eating dinner at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and we're sitting down and just having a conversation and finding out what the grandkids did during the day, and she wants to know about my day, and that's a daily basis. We kind of chill out, have a glass of wine and relax, and then weekends always kind of try to spend time if we can get to see the kids, every other week or so. But then we have our time and we'll go out.
What do you do for yourself?
Go to the
you-
gym. Go to the gym.
Exercise.
Yes, definitely. I just started getting into called Stretch Zone.
Mm.
It's a great place.
Thought you were gonna say pickleball.
No, not yet. Although a lot of people have been doing that,
man.
and a lot of my friends play golf. I don't play golf.
Ah.
But I scuba dive, I fish, I do all of that stuff, but I haven't gotten into golfing. So go to the gym, chill out.
Spearfishing.
Yeah, it's the big thing.
What's that?
Spearfishing is great. You said scuba dive and fish, combine them.
Yeah,
Spearfishing is awesome.
yeah. You do that?
I do.
So are you a scuba diver?
Yes.
Okay,
I do. I spearfish more free dive,
okay.
harder. That's not why I like it. Just it's fun.
That's great.
It's a great thing. Not to take over.
No, please.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I involve myself in a lot of hobbies. Too much, which is great though. My brain's always going. So the more things I involve myself in, it's easier. Fishing, hunting, dirt bikes, jet skis, off road stuff, cars, name it, and I have my hand in it, and it's just something like I'm never bored.
Just picked up golf.
Just picked up golf. Not a bad swing, hitting 300.
No,
Just saying.
oh, nice.
Awesome.
Did you play hockey also?
I did not.
Happy
they
Gilmore.
Yeah.
They say hockey players make good golfers, right? For the most part.
Well, yeah, more of a natural swing, I
Mhm.
guess. Like baseball players, it's a
Mhm.
different swing than the golf swing. Hockey, because you're coming down on a puck, sort of like you're coming down on a
Golf
ball.
club, yeah.
So similar, but still different. Trust me, I am no Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
But you have fun doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't golfed in about 15 years, and I went with Dave, 6
It was
months
at
ago?
the end of the summer.
Yeah. Great time. A lot of fun.
Oh
Now I'm
yeah,
hooked.
wait
I'm
a second.
addicted.
That was that time you guys were FaceTiming me.
Yes.
You're out having fun on the golf course and just
I forgot.
nice
we
guys.
I don't
right?
remember that.
Where are you? Oh, we're out golfing. Where are you?
Honestly,
In a
dude.
crawl space? I'm like, what happened? Well, you said you don't golf. I'm like, I can meet you after golf and have a couple of drinks. Nice guys, eh?
It was fun.
Yeah, definitely lots of fun. And what would be one piece of advice you could give someone that's in the process right now, either looking to buy, invest, rent? Any piece of advice that us professional you could share with the audience?
Let me take that one real quick. Hire a good home inspector. It'll save you a lot of money.
It will.
Interesting, and it is a good point. The market's tough. Market's tough. We were at that roundtable stuff
Yes.
today, and it
Yes.
was pretty interesting.
Yes.
The facts that were brought up.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how
Things develop.
things develop and things shift in the market. But I guess the biggest thing is when you're looking to buy a house, obviously use a good realtor like
Mhm.
Olga. I mean
Thank you.
that goes without saying.
Thank you.
And you can see, just like everything else, you could see the good, bad, the ones that don't care, the ones that care. You said you spend time on the phone with your clients. I
Mhm.
know you
Right.
do too. You've been in touch with the gentleman that
Yes.
we were working with in Long Beach a few times. Nothing but very nice things to say about you, which is always nice to hear. Get your finances in order,
Mm.
because the last thing you want to do is buy a house and just
Be choked.
finances become that wedge
A burden.
between in a relationship. So
Mm.
I have my oldest son moved to Maryland. He said, Dad, he goes, I am not going to be house poor. I do not want to work to support a house. So luckily for him, his fiance was from Maryland, and she put it on the table day one. They were dating for 7 years. She goes, we'll live up here in New York, but I want to start a family down in Maryland. So Joseph went along with it, and he's down there, absolutely loves it. I love going down there. It's different lifestyle, different, just so much more laid back, and he's can financially do it. And he was lucky. He bought it at the bottom. Like I think he's got like
lucky, no
like
interest
a
rate.
3% interest, like
Wow.
2.9, like free money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I says, realize you could never sell this house. He
Yes.
goes,
Just
what do you
because of
mean?
that.
I said, you could never. He goes, I don't understand what you're saying. I said, the interest rate you got, you're never going to give that up.
It's like free money.
Yeah, what's
Exactly.
that saying? Marry the house, date the rate. But he
Yes.
he married the interest rate. He did the
Yes.
opposite.
Yeah.
Right?
And his fiance
Yes.
and everything else. But it was good. I think the biggest piece of advice is definitely don't overextend yourself, because that we all know finances could really put a lot of strain on a relationship. So
Yeah. Do
and-
you? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but
go
do
ahead.
you, Olga and Rob? Do you guys have any tips financial wise? Like, say you're making X amount a month between you and your significant other, right? What would be an appropriate amount to allot for, what you can spend monthly on a home, as opposed to groceries and factoring all the other essentials that you need?
By the book, you're supposed to spend 1/3 of what you make on your housing.
1/3.
1/3.
Okay.
And the reason
you
I
would be good
know is because in co-op world, when you're buying an apartment, that's how they look at your finances. So if you're making X amount of money, you need to allocate 1/3 of it into your housing,
Mm.
1/3 into your personal pleasure, food and all that.
Mm.
And the other part, the third, should be into savings.
Saving.
But how many people live this way?
I don't think
Not
anybody.
too many.
Very few.
No.
It's
Very
tough,
few.
in this area too. I mean, you need
Right.
to make a substantial living in order
Correct.
to pay for everything.
Absolutely.
A lot of people's, the bulk, I think, of everyone's paychecks are going toward their house.
Oh,
Mhm.
correct.
Mhm.
So it's tough to, and yeah, I've seen tips like that online as well. The thirds broken down, but
Right.
I think it's location
Tough.
dependent. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
That's why Joseph moved to Maryland.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
right
Yeah.
outside that Towson area. Beautiful house, simple, obviously low interest rate. He was smart. He didn't, then people get caught up. It's like, oh, the house, and they just overextend themselves, and
Yeah. It's not worth it.
not good.
Mm-mm. No.
It's not worth
good.
it.
And then raising kids today is crazy.
Very expensive.
Another mortgage.
Daycare.
John-
Mortgage.
Daycare,
Yeah,
yes.
daycare.
Oh, jeez.
That's why I recorded a video today that, it's very important for people to hear that a lot of people actually relocating back closer to their family.
Yes.
Mhm.
When we are younger, we want to run away from family.
Mhm.
Like in 20s, people just want to run because they feel like, oh, I don't need mom and dad. You are annoying. You are up my behind all the time, telling me what to do. Don't drink, don't drive, leave me alone. But then it comes the time when the babies come and you need that extra help.
Mhm.
Like I help my kids to watch the baby once a week.
Mhm.
I'm not going to mention when
Mhm.
because nobody knows.
Right.
But I do spend a day with her where no one would ever tell. And it's because I have a very good team that is able to, I make an appointment, the teammates go.
Yeah.
Where is Olga? She's in the middle of another appointment.
Mhm.
So I want to actually spend time with my granddaughter
Yeah.
because she's growing.
Mhm.
She was born a year and a half ago, and every weekend I see her, I'm like, my gosh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Some different
she's so different. They grow so fast.
new words.
And we don't want to miss that. I think it's very, very important for us to continue to grow, continue to build our business to the next level, right? And to really just watch. There is no thing like balance. There is balance word that's floating out there into the universe when you have to balance your life. And there is no such thing as balance, because the minute something very significant happens, guess what? The balance is off the charts, and you now fully focus on that problem.
Right.
So I personally believe, like, prioritize, right?
Right.
Prioritizing is the key to me, and really seeing where your attention must be addressed right now at this moment. That's why we're here. Right now, today, our phones are ringing off the hook, but we are here right now prioritizing and recording and really pouring our heart and soul into knowledge and experience that we could share with the world, and giving back to all those that we love. It begins with ourselves, giving back to our local communities, educating people, and it just spreads into friends, family, and clients, and that's how it all ties in back into this space where we pour our heart every single month.
Right.
On a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And when you surround yourself with good people, like I'm fortunate, I work with my son every day. I don't know how fortunate it is for him, but for me, it's nice. And there's times we stop for lunch in the middle of the day.
Yeah. It's
but-
the quality nugget time that I enjoy the most too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yes,
Definitely. And
absolutely.
Joseph, like we talked about, he takes care of the finance part, like just whatever has to be paid. Just make sure there's, it's covered. Taxes are paid, all of that stuff. So it's nice. There's definitely an advantage of being in the family business. It's not like you're going off to work and you don't see your family for 8, 9, 10 hours.
Yeah. That's fortunate.
And Dave, you mentioned that your wife is in the medical field, but yet she's looking to become your marketing director.
Yes.
How
yes.
is that connected?
We are so she
She
also
loves
has an
working with
interest
you that
in
much?
she has an obsession, I'll call it. No, but she's actually getting into photography and videography as well. It's kind of a hobby of hers. So
Oh, wow.
we're trying to synergize her hobby and get her out of the hospital, I guess,
Nice.
where she works, and make it so that she's doing something that she loves
Fun.
as opposed to something that she
Right.
has to do. So if that's something we're able to make happen, we're going to try it out. I hope it works, because I mean, she's great, and it's going to make my life with social media a lot easier. I'm horrible with it, so I hate any kind of social media, to be honest. I can't stand it. Can't
But
wrap my
that's
head
where
around
people
it.
are.
Right.
That's why we got Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's why we got Jimmy, right?
I can't keep up with it. The algorithms, I don't understand it all. The hashtags, can't
Well, because we enjoy doing what we do, right?
Right.
Stay in your lane. Let somebody else do the other stuff.
Like if someone dropped $1 billion on my account tomorrow, I know I told you yesterday what I would do. I would probably build a massive, huge retirement home for people that are right now are retiring, and very little amount of people have good, loving families. And so my goal and my vision is, if I ever have this opportunity to do and build, my goal is to build something for those that are looking to do something fun after they're 65 or 70. So they could really, really have like a resort style living.
I was going to say an amusement park for the
Yes.
senior citizens.
Yes. And I could just show up and I'll be like, hello, I made it happen.
Can I put my name on that application now? I'm close. I'm close. Can I get on the list?
Absolutely.
Disney World has Donald Duck
Then-
walking around,
then you and I
she'll
have
have the
to work
Golden
on it.
Girls.
Yeah.
Golden Girls will be walking around.
Yeah. So everybody has their dreams and goals, and it's definitely something that we all have a big vision for. And my vision is to build, create, and produce. And then in the end of the day, we don't know where it's going to end up.
Educate.
Just educate people. I think that I'm building a great YouTube library where, even if people don't watch this episode right now, but then one day they searching for homes and they want to learn more about mold, asbestos, termites, they could just punch in the keywords and it's all just going to pop up and it's going to be in their searches.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to give as much as I possibly can, bring here the most influential, knowledgeable people on this planet Earth. Thank you very much, Rob, for bringing Dave and John into this amazing podcast.
That was great.
Thanks
Okay,
for
it was
having
my
us.
pleasure
Thank you so
having
much.
you guys here with me today, and I can't wait for more exciting episodes. And I am definitely grateful to my audience. Everyone, thank you very much for following me, for watching me. And please stay tuned for more exciting videos that's on the way to you. Thanks a lot, and I can't wait to share more insightful episodes. Thanks.